This episode is sponsored by Zenro Clothing Co. Pick up your tees and or accessories at zenroclothingco.com and be sure to use offer code SOCRATES at checkout for 20% off select items. Also, if you're not into spending the money, just check out the Zenro radio playlist. zenroclothingco.com, music for your everyday. This episode also sponsored by The Portian Bakery. If you're located in the Portian area of Scarborough, Toronto, be sure to check out The Portian Bakery, say what's up to Arville, and pick up a donut or two. Baked daily, crafted with love. This episode also sponsored by Podbean. Podbean is the podcasting platform of choice. It's the one that me and Vish use, and is great, you know, if you're looking to start that DIY podcast yourself. Definitely check out Podbean. Use the link podbean.com/SocraticGamers and gain 1 month of unlimited podcasting for free. Test it out, build that content. Anyone could podcast, right, Vish?
Yep.
Start a podcast and get your ideas out there. All right, enjoy the episode. Starting over. All right, back from Tristar, and this is like a second time we did this. Like, something doesn't want us to have this conversation, but so the first time I went to Tristar, like this is the second time I've done a series. Well, I did one class there before, and then this is a consecutive series. So yeah, I was saying that the first time it was like he split up the group, and then there was like beginners, and then there was his advanced class, but I couldn't like learn from him because it was like separated, because he would only teach the advanced class. So before I was going, I emailed them like, hey, can I take part in the advanced class? And like, which classes does Frost train? Because it'd be kind of dumb if like, you know, when you get like too big and then you just don't train anyone, it's just more like your name is there.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's like, oh, like I run the gym, I own the gym, but like I'm actually not teaching anyone because like it's beyond my time. I just focus on pros. So that's what I thought. I was like, oh, he's probably just gonna like focus on his pro team, right? So then I emailed them and they're like, no, he teaches most of the advanced classes. I'm like, all right, cool. So I went on the Tuesday, drove up in the morning, did the advanced class he taught. And then I did the next day, lunchtime, he taught again. And then I did the nighttime, but at a different gym, because I had heard about this other one that like GSP trains at. And like, I did that one. And then the last two classes on the Thursday, I did at Tristar. He just didn't teach the very last class. I guess he was doing something. But it's funny because we all look at it like this is, and don't get me wrong, like when I say this, it's like it lived up to the hype. Mm-hmm. So like we all look at it and we're like, oh, that's like a pro team, that's like Tristar or whatever, and like, you know, only the best of the best go. Like GSP, the GOAT of MMA. I think Khabib's the GOAT, but like everyone says GSP's the GOAT, but GSP is from there, right? And like you go there and you're like, it feels like an old school boxing gym. So the first day I was disenfranchised because I was like, I like did the class and I was like, ooh, this is like weird. Like, why are we learning non-basic maneuvers? Because I was trying to get like France to come. I was like, yeah, just come with me, whatever. Because he wanted to meet up in Montreal. I'm like, no, I'm just gonna spend all my time here, whatever. And I was like, after that class, I was like, dude, don't come. Like, this is not for you. This is not a beginner. You know, like the stuff we're doing. I was like, I can keep up because I have the experience and the body awareness, but like you would be like, why are we doing this? This makes no sense.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I really think that the best foundation is Gracie Jiu-Jitsu because they've laid it out so linearly. Like when I first started Jiu-Jitsu, it was like at this one sports school and then like it kind of made sense, but not really, you know? And then like I trained with Carlos and then that was just like full blast, like whatever he wanted to do, we did. But then like Gracie Jiu-Jitsu was like a linear progression.
Mm-hmm.
And like that, it kind of gives you like the bedrock, you know, and then you're like, okay, let me see where else I can take this, right? So like after understanding the base concepts, it's like, all right, let's push the boundaries now. And it's interesting because it's like remember how we were talking about commercialization?
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
And like how the Gracie is very commercial. Everyone come. Let's all learn jiu-jitsu together. Like totally, yeah, for sure. But what if you want to take it to the next level? Where do you go for that? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And like, so there's like Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, which is very commercial. And I'd say Tristar is like at the other end where it's like, you get it or you don't, but I'm just going to give you the best of my knowledge. Right. And like, there's no hand holding. He's going to show you the move. He's going to explain it thoroughly, but it's up to you to like really figure it out. He's not like He's not going around being like, "Hey, you should change this. Oh, adjust this." Like maybe to like one or two people, but not really. He like after he shows the move, he'll sit down in the corner and just wait and just observe people, and then he'll add on to the move. I'm like, "Oh, that's kind of cool. That's very pro." You know, it's like if you're here to work. You know
Sure.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
And then I would say in the middle is like 10th Planet, where it's like a little of both. You get like some crazy dudes who know some insane stuff, but then you get the friendliness. So it's like a best of both worlds.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But there are no kids classes at TriStar. It's like you're here to work, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And and like I like how when you before he starts the class, he just like stands there with his arms crossed waiting for the time to start. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
literally just like, oh, we're working. Okay, cool, we're working, you know? And like then like he'll clap. He'll be like, "Hey, everyone, pay attention. All right, here's the first move." You know what I mean? It really feels like almost like a wrestling gym. I'm not too sure, like a boxing gym. It's very like grimy too. I was talking to one guy, and like he was like from the UK, and he's like, "Yeah, why'd you come here? Whatever, whatever." And I was like, "Yeah, when we first came, it's kind of like, what are we doing here?" Because it feels so like, oh, this is like grimy, not dirty, but like rough. Not rough. You know what I'm trying to say? It's like it's not rough. Like nobody was going hard. Like they were going hard, but they weren't like trying to kill you. But it's like sweat is on this mat. You know, it's like I love it though. It's like
No, I would. It would it
serious.
be like, I don't know. I mean, the closest thing I can think of is just like boot camp ish, but not
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe.
right.
Maybe. Yes. That's a good comparison. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like the H2O MMA, the second place where I went, it was almost trying to be like kind of friendly a little bit because pros train there too. So it was like serious but friendly.
Mm-hmm.
But like this was like serious and cordial.
Right.
You know, like not friendly, cordial.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, hello, how are you? All right, cool. You know, let's get to work. You know, and it's funny because having been to so many gyms, you know, like 10th Planet is so friendly. That's why I love it. Like, oh, hey, what's up, man? Where are you from? You know, like that's just the culture. This one is like we're not really here to talk, and then the people that were there to talk were complaining about. So the last day there was two people I trained with, and I was like, oh, whatever. They're like trying to show me stuff, and they're like, oh, what belts are you? I'm like, oh, blue belt. And then they're like, yeah, we're purple belts. So we've been training for like 15 years. And I'm like, oh, damn, that's a long time, bro. And then he's like, yeah, we're just hoping that one day Frost will give us our brown belts. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then as we're trying to rep, I'm trying to rep. I'm like, yeah, I'm just here to rep. They just have a conversation. They're just like talking and they're not repping. I'm like, that's why he's not giving you the brown belt, bro. Because
Mm-hmm.
Frost is very serious, you know? And like, if you're talking, it's like, why are you here then? You know, I'm here to rep, you know? And then it's funny because like they're showing me some tricks, but as we're going, like as we're doing the demos of the moves, you can feel like, oh, you're not that good. There's a lot of space here. I can escape, right? So we roll, and then the guy's like, I'll show you something, bro. I'll show you something. I'm like, okay, cool. And then I just like controlled him, and he couldn't sub me, and he got pissed. And I'm like, yeah. And then they saw me go after certain people because I'm like, oh, I want to feel like how hard this
Yeah.
this thing
Right.
is, right? And then like I went over to this guy. I asked the one guy like, how do you know who's a pro here or like who's like serious? And they're like, you can't really tell because nobody's wearing anything, but like usually they hang out on that mat and whatever. So I'm like, I'm going to that mat. So like I go there and I roll with this one dude and we're like kind of at a stalemate. He can't sub me. The time ends, and then the dude was like, one of the two dudes was watching us, and then he like whispers to another guy. He said he was a freaking brown belt. Oh, so he said he was a freaking blue belt, bro. But I was like moving not like a blue belt, right?
Right.
And they're just
Right.
like,
Right.
what the hell? But it's like, yeah, but we're like, why else did you come? You know, everyone's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we're
Mm-hmm.
here for Frost. I'm like, yeah, like we're here for Frost. Like we really want the seriousness, right? So, anyways, I like how Frost's like techniques are very like he'll do the move and he'll ask you, can you move in this position? No? All right, we're gonna keep going. Like it's very analytical and scientific. I really like that. But like, um, it's not for everyone. It's like I realized coming back, I was like, it's like I left the cave and I was like, dude, there's a whole world out there. And then you come back and you're like, oh, we don't really get what this jujitsu thing is. Like most people, like
Sure.
because
Sure.
like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
because Tara's like, oh, most people just do it for a hobby. You're taking it way too seriously, and I'm like, am I, or am I with that crowd that's taking it seriously?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like it's weird because So I taught yesterday. I don't know if you saw where I was wearing the coat.
No, no, no.
All right, so like I was teaching, and like everyone was like, don't deny the gi, whatever, whatever. Like, we live in Canada, and I'm like, I'm telling you, like, it's not gonna work, right? And they're like, oh, whatever. So then that was like last week, and then I went to Tristar, and then I came back this week. But I went to Montreal testing my moves. I'm like, oh, this is gonna work or not? Like, I'm gonna really pressure test. Like, I'm gonna keep everything the same. I'm not gonna try anything. And they were working there. I was literally keeping up. So I was like, all right, cool. This will work. So then, like, I put on my coat yesterday, and then they were trying to like, I was like, throw me. And then he couldn't throw me. I'm like, just very simple moves, just like, all right, frame the hip, keep
Mm-hmm,
distance, whatever,
mm-hmm.
whatever. I'm like, so where's this gi, this whole like gi like, I was,
Right,
oh, the
right,
gi,
right.
if you're wearing a coat, they're gonna, and I'm like, I'm wearing a coat, grab it. And like,
Mm-hmm.
and then he couldn't grab it, and then I let him grab it, and I'm like, okay, still throw me. He couldn't throw me. I'm like, so why? Because it's like your jujitsu's not good, you
Right.
know? But again, these are people, well, that dude was a blue belt, but that was trying to throw me. But then like the other people were not jujitsu people. And it's funny because I could tell that it was like, oh, this is chaotic. Because I was like demoing. I'm like, all right, and really take me down, bro. And then like we kind of got interrupted. Like, all right, enough. But I'm like, no, it looks crazy, but I'm telling you, I was in full control. Like it's just
Mm-hmm.
he looks crazy. He tried so hard, and I'm just like, oop, nope, not working. Oop, nope, not working. But like it looks like two angry dogs fighting, but I'm like not even fighting. I'm just like, settle down, dog. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And so then like we were doing this one move where like you had to you had to like pull somebody to the ground a little bit, and then my partner kind of fell, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I realized something, and then I start explaining and teaching everyone nobody knows how to catch their balance. Like
Mm-hmm.
most people don't know how to catch it. If I push you, you don't know how to regain your balance. And the whole class was really just me trying to show you how to like regain your balance. And it's
Right.
like if most people are at that level and I'm like trying to push myself to this level, it's like, dude, what like on the street, what problem would I have?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's like I kind of had that click in my because like like, oh, I'm gonna get murked at TriStar, and I was like, oh, dude, I'm keeping up. What are we doing? You know? And then like, no, okay, cool. How do I teach like non-jujitsu people the basics of jujitsu, like the principles? I'm like, dude, most people are at an insane deficit.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's this line where it's like, learn to swim or you're gonna drown. So like the Gracies, they're like, the ground is our ocean. When you hit the ground, you have no idea what you're doing, and you're just drowning. And we're just like we're a shark in the ocean. I see it now because it's like even standing, like I pushed this one guy over, he fell over. I'm like, what? How are you
Mm-hmm.
falling, bro? I just put your foot back, and like, oh. And then it was like a light bulb moment when I started to make them feel it. They're like, oh, I can feel the base and like the positioning, and it's just like, oh, dude, you have a far way to go. Like if this is
Right. Right.
I
Yeah.
don't even teach you chokes or anything or like how to armbar you. Like, you know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
it's like 99% of the world. And then this is what I was telling them after. It's like, you really don't need to know much jujitsu to protect yourself. And I can say, like, before, they would always say that, like, jujitsu, you don't need too much. Like, that's what the
Mm-hmm.
Gracies would
Mm-hmm.
always say. And you're like, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? But then, like, when you get to that level of, like, it's more like my motor skills are there,
Mm-hmm.
you really don't need because people don't even have motor skills. You know what I'm saying? Like once you learn how to like use your body in like a proprioceptive way, like my body in relation to your body, people
Yeah.
don't even understand that concept.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, oh, okay. Well, there's nothing to fear now, you know,
Right.
from like regular
Mm.
people.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Unless you're like a wrestler. But even my like I went to the wrestling class at this other place. It was taught by like this famous wrestler, and I was like, okay, cool. Let me see if my wrestling defense works. Worked every time. So what I started to do, and I do this at 10 Planet in Toronto as well. I'll stand against the wall because it gives me a deficit. Because if I'm wrestling and there's nobody behind me, I can just like step back
Mm-hmm.
to create distance. But if I'm against the wall, there's no stepping back. So I'm like, can I defend myself in a very close quarter?
Mm-hmm.
And like it was working in Montreal, but at 10 Planet here, there are a lot of wrestlers that like can take me down. I'm like, okay, I need to work on this aspect. But all that to say, TriStar's the truth. I'm gonna go back. I think I'm gonna go back every year now, just as like a pilgrimage to like I call it like my pilgrimage to Mecca, like
Sure.
the Mecca of jujitsu. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And only go to TriStar because like the H2O place was really good, but I need that level of like militancy,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Yeah. Okay, so with that being said, I really think that if I wasn't a Taoist, if I didn't believe in like Taoism,
Sure.
I'd be Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Why?
Let me blow your mind. Exactly. Let me blow your mind on this one, bro. Okay. So, so I was kind of like, so all right. I was listening to Jiu-Jitsu podcasts as I was going to Montreal, and I was like, I was wavering on my last day, like, oh, should I go to TriStar? Should I go to like this other place? Like, I always love TriStar. I love Frost, whatever, whatever, right? I love its like mentality. So I started putting on podcasts of Frost. Like, let me see if I really want to. And I'm like, oh, I want to be in your aura. So like, I just want to spend as much time as I can around you, not necessarily just for the techniques, but like how you conduct yourself. Okay. And the thing I was listening to was the Muslim podcast, and he
Mm-hmm.
explained what Muslim is. And I was like, that's Taoism, bro. So check this out. And I'll
Sure.
tell you the differentiator. So he was saying that what they call Allah is what we call the Tao, which is like yin yang, right? Like good and evil encompassed in all of it,
Mm-hmm.
which is like Taoism, just like it's just Taoism. And he was saying that like where Christianity separated from, and I said this too when I read like the three books and then I got to the Quran. I'm like, oh yeah, they're trying to bring it back to God or Allah, right? From the beginning. And he said that like when you have the Holy Trinity and everyone's focusing on the Trinity, right? You have like God, Son, Holy Spirit. And we're all like coveting that in Christianity. He's like, you've introduced two new factors into it, right? Before you can have two, you need one, right? In mathematics.
Mm-hmm.
So you've introduced two gods, Jesus and the Holy Spirit, when before the two there was one.
Sure.
Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. That's more like the religious philosophical kind of thing. But check this out. I was like, he was like talking about the experience of God. I'm like, what do you say? Like, bro, what is like? Cause everyone's like, oh, I feel Allah, whatever, whatever. It's consciousness, bro. He's like the experience of you, Descartes. I think, therefore, I am. What
Mm-hmm.
is the one thing that you cannot deny? Like even to deny it confirms it,
Mm-hmm.
which is your consciousness. In order for me to deny something, I have to first acknowledge that I'm conscious enough to deny something.
Sure.
Make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's Allah. And I'm like, dude, that's consciousness. You just switched the word.
Mm-hmm.
All right, why? Go. What's your belief? Well, like, what's your understanding of it? Because you listen to
Uh.
like a lot of Muslim podcasts,
Yeah.
and then
No.
I'll get into the next thing after. But let's just
Sure.
start with God. Okay,
No, no, no.
what is
I
most
don't. I
people's
don't. I don't.
perception of God?
I don't disagree with any of that. But I don't know if that's the general consensus of the belief, right? Could be
And
his
that's what
philosophy of
yes,
it.
and that's what he said. He's like, you have to look at um, Imam Razali or something. He's like, Muslims today have given us a bad image, which is like you just didn't study far enough. But he has like a bachelor in philosophy, and like he read all these philosophers, and he also like read deep in the Quran. He's like naming all these people that you need to read, right? And then like the two hosts, when he brought up like Imam Razali or something, this like guy, they were like, yeah, that guy, that guy is like the truth. And I'm like, so how many Muslims read that far, or did they just follow the procedure?
Yeah, they just
And
follow.
what
A
he's
lot of them just, yeah, as you
that's
said,
what he's saying.
follow the procedure. Yeah.
Yes, and that's what he's saying. He's like, no, you need to really study. You need to question your religion, is what he's
Mm-hmm.
saying. And once you question it, you start reading into it. And when you read into it, you're like, oh, this is logical. It's actually super logical.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just all comes down to this experience of consciousness. And what he's saying is that in Hinduism they call it samadhi, which is like the ultimate experience. Like you have no mind. It's the flow state, right? That is God. And he said that the hierarchy goes God, worship of God,
So I think,
family.
right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
No,
What
no,
were
no.
you gonna
That's
say?
fine. Yeah, I think that's the difference between it's a philosophy, but then there's a God. That's the
What do you mean?
ish, issue
Like
of
a
there
God?
being. Yeah.
So say right. So this is why I'm saying like when he's saying these words, but I'm like, have you looked into Taoism, bro? Because that's literally it. Like, God is not this like figure; it's this experience. And he's
Right.
like,
See, that's the this is the definition. So when you use the word God, that's the problem that happened with a lot of, I would say, even translations, even within Hindu texts, right?
yes, yes,
Because if Christians are the ones translating, they again, I think we discussed this before, but like language is one of the things. So if you're saying God, but they're using word consciousness, it's not the same thing.
what do you mean?
God
Like in
is
their
a
perception.
physical. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Totally. And that's what he's saying. It's like our world is made up of narratives, right? But the one thing you can't deny is God. You're like, what do you mean? But he's like, no, you can't deny the experience. It's not. It's not like that's God because that is your
Sure,
subjective.
sure, right. But
He's like,
this is like I can't speak for all Muslims, but like there is you can't go too into philosophy. That's one thing that is very
no,
controversial.
right. Yes, he talked about it too. He talked that logic is
Like you
haram.
tech, yeah, technically
Logic.
it becomes haram, right? Like
Wait. Check
when you
this out.
question this stuff.
So he said that. But he's like, but in order to say logic is haram, you have to use logic to
Sure, yeah,
call
he's
it
coming from,
haram.
yeah, right.
So
No,
it's
no,
like you've
I don't
already
disagree with what
canceled
he's saying.
itself.
Exactly, I
I
don't
know you're a
disagree.
freaking genius for us.
Yeah, but
Like
that's he's coming from the philosophy basis. But there, you again, this depends
which
on
literal
who.
like
It depends on because there's so many sects of Islam. It's not just one, right?
yeah, totally.
Um, that some of the strongest ones that are out there is a straightforward thing and not philosophy based.
Right. It's blind belief.
Mm-hmm.
But he said that he's like, if you look at historically, it's Muslims who brought real evolution to the world. They brought like science because logic was their like precursor. Like what he was saying is that the Imam Rizal, I gotta read that book, but or find out who
Mm-hmm.
that guy was and read the book. But he was saying that like it was always about questioning. You never not questioned,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Because and it made sense. He's like, oh, logic is haram. But you use logic to say that logic is haram. So you've disproved the point. Because you have
Mm-hmm.
to think about it logically. You're like, oh, it should be that. That's a logical thought. So using logic to disprove logic makes no sense. You use logic.
Sure.
So if you take it down all the way to like its base principle, if you like what do you call it? Occam's razor it, you go all the way to that. And it's like logic is the only truth. You
Mm-hmm.
have to. There's two things: logic and experience. And he's saying that God is the experience. God is intuition. Like you cannot that sensation of like who's watching. Like sure you have your thoughts, you have like your ideas, whatever, but what's the awareness behind the thought? That's God. That's in everything, is what he's saying. Like that's the creation of everything, the whole
Mm-hmm. So he's
universe.
yeah. Again, that's the redefinition of God.
But I wouldn't say it's a redefinition. I'd say he studied it far enough to look in because he's like read all the things and like read all these other
Or okay,
people
fine. There's
exploring it.
a different definition to God than the general idea.
I'd say a deeper understanding because like how many people even read those things?
Sure,
Like
but
it took like
there's other. I don't. I see. He's bringing up one, but there wasn't just one imam, right? There was different imams, right, with different
true
ideas.
that's fair. That's fair. You know what? You know that's fair. That's fair. But according to what he's saying, I'm like I totally agree with this because you used it, you explained it in a way that is so undeniable. It's like I agree. That's what I believe too. That there's
Mm-hmm.
awareness. It's like what is God, bro? Everything is aware. Like you're aware. I'm aware. Athena's aware. It's like God. That's God.
Sure.
It permeates everything. In order for something to exist, consciousness has to be there.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean? It's like I don't know that this phone is really a phone unless I'm able to witness the phone.
Mm-hmm.
So I've created my world. See what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like and
Yeah.
then what he was saying is everything has a thing called an essence. And
Mm-hmm.
this is a more philosophical perspective. He's like read a lot of philosophers. It's like what's the difference between a knife? What makes a knife a knife? It's a blade.
Well, yeah. Use it
Like
if you use it as a knife.
right. Yes, you skipped like 5 levels. So you're right though. Like, what's the difference between a knife and a sword? There's a moment where you're like, oh, that's a sword. That's not a knife. So everything
Uh,
in this world,
yeah.
right, go ahead. Like, what, when do you go like, oh, that's a sword. That's not a knife.
I don't. What are you trying to say? Like, it's definition there, right?
Exactly. It's an philosophers call it an essence. There's something.
Okay.
If I draw a knife on the paper, you're like, oh, that's a knife. No, it's a piece of paper with a bunch of writing on it. We've given things an essence.
Mm-hmm.
We've given things a narrative, right? And then you're like, that's a sword. That's not a knife. How do you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it's because it has an essence, right? And he's saying that like before the essence, before creating the narrative, before the essence, whatever, there's consciousness, there's awareness,
Mm-hmm.
and that's God. And then we just and then we superimpose our reality on our awareness onto reality. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, oh, that's a light, that's a thing, that's a da da da, that's a blah blah blah. But it's like, no, those are just molecules. Literally, at the end of the day, they're just molecules. We've just separated them in our minds to create things, narratives around us,
Mm-hmm.
right? We just can't see the molecules, so we're like, it's a phone. What makes a phone? Remember, like, Kanye West said, like, what's a table? There's no table. He's like, this could also be like a tent. And people thought he was crazy, and he's like, that's the Matrix, right? No, he's just like, he just understands it. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, it's all narratives. Life is just a story you tell yourself,
Sure.
right? And like, and that's what quantum physics is too, right? You need the observer in order to make it real.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like quantum physics explains spirituality. Like quantum physics is spirituality. Like they're the exact same thing, right? It's like,
Yeah.
right? It's like it doesn't render unless you see
No, no.
it.
So I don't disagree with that if that's the definition. If you're breaking it down in that definition. Now the other question is
How many people are doing that, right?
it's not just how people are doing that. Now, are you still saying that this God has, let's say, emotion? Does it get mad that you don't
No,
pray 5 times a
no,
day?
no, 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 no.
Okay. So
Let's go.
then that's actually changing Islam then.
All right, no, no, no. Now we'll go into the rules,
Is
and
that
this is
right?
why I'm not. Hey, check this out. This is crazy. This is crazy, bro. I was listening to it like, oh, this is so logical, bro.
Sure.
Okay, I'm I'm gonna say like I'm a Taoist, and then if I wanted to be something, I would say I'm Muslim. Why? Because the only thing that separates Taoism and Muslim understanding is the rules. In Taoism, there's no rules. Hey man, do you, bro?
Hmm.
It's all at the end of the day, it is just how the world works, right? That's Taoism. It is what it is, right? Muslim culture, they create a rule set. Why? Because they want to make it the most optimal way for humans to survive. Why don't they believe in gay people? No, they don't. It's haram to be gay
Yeah.
because that doesn't propagate the species. Why is it haram to have sex before marriage? Because if you impregnate her and you leave, there's nothing holding you there.
Hmm.
And then that will disrupt civilization. And he was even saying like to his kids, right? They're like, "Oh, everything's equal, blah blah blah." Like the kids, they come back from school, Western school, and they're like everyone's equal, blah blah blah. Um, like, like homosexuals are equal to heterosexual people. I'm not saying this. I'm just saying it's like this was that they're telling him, right? His kids, because Western, and he goes, "No, that's not true." And they're like, "What do you mean, Dad?" He's like, "If I was homosexual, you wouldn't exist. There's a difference." And I'm like, fair point. And that's why they created the rules, right? It's
Hmm.
haram because it's like it just doesn't make the species propagate
Sure.
or
Yeah. 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 Okay.
continue. But I'm like, but if you look at it like that, it's like that's logical, bro. Of course. Like
Right.
the only thing,
So
right?
then,
You have
what about the 5 prayers then?
no for to hone in your. He didn't go into this, but I can see why it's there to hone in your focus onto something. So like I was saying, there's God, there is family, and then there's yourself, right? In order: worship God, then protect your family, then focus on yourself. And the reason what is this worshiping of God? It's remembering that everyone's equal. We are
Hmm.
all in the eyes of God. Our value is all the same. A homosexual is equal to a heterosexual person, right? That's what he said. He's like, in the eyes of God, we're all the same because we are all God, right?
Hmm.
The only separation is like the rules because we want to make our species survive. If we are all homosexual, there'd be no one.
Yeah.
right? No, but
Right.
like literally logically, like do whatever you want. Again, I'm a Taoist. Do whatever you want, bro. But like rules, no rules, I don't care,
Mm-hmm.
right? But like in their culture, the reason why they're so strict about the rules is because they want their species, they want their culture to survive. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I get that. I get that, bro. Like, you know?
Sure.
And if you look back in history, like it was the Muslims that were the most who was the Persians? Were they Muslims? The
Uh,
Persians?
wouldn't
They brought a
say
lot of
that.
science, right?
Well, there's different cultures that brought a lot of different things. I wouldn't say necessarily Persians. There were Zoroastrians. There were inside of Persia, right? There's different religions,
I think he's Zoroastrian.
but then
Is that Muslim?
Zoroastrian is not Muslim.
Okay, maybe he's not. Maybe I'm thinking like Zahabi, Zoroastrian, maybe something like that. But like,
A lot of them
um,
fled those areas when um, Islam tried to come in because they wouldn't. They were not believing in the same thing, right?
oh, okay, yeah, fair, fair, fair. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay, going back to the rules, like the interest rate, he was talking about this too. He's like, if you indebt somebody with interest, they're never escaping. That's not good for society. And I'm like, that makes sense, bro. That's why we're all enslaved with financials right now.
Mm-hmm.
And like, one thing that he was saying is like, the brotherhood, like the like you if you look at like Khabib, right? And because he's very, very Muslim, he will not leave his friend for a better opportunity. It's not like, oh, just leave them and I'll give you $1 million. No, I'd rather have this because this is in my culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, more things to propagate the culture. It's like don't spread too far, bro. Don't backstab each other. Like very basic rules to make sure that like the species survives,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I know Christians like, we have the same thing, right? Thou shalt not kill, right? But what he's saying is that you've introduced a trinity. We what he said, this was so fascinating. He's like, before you were born, you were born with one religion, and that's the Muslim religion. And I'm like, what are you saying? Like how? Right? And he's like, because you can't separate yourself from the experience. The conscious experience, like that experience of God, like the samadhi, we all have it. That's our most innate
Mm-hmm.
experience with God. But then like Christianity introduced like
It's funny
God,
because I've heard the
the
other
Holy
one
Spirit.
too, right? Like I know
Oh,
what
what?
he's saying and it makes sense. The when you're born,
Yeah.
yeah, I've heard that with you're born a Hindu before you're taught the religion.
Here's the crazy part. That's because, all right, you know why?
Mm-hmm.
Because what is Taoism? Hinduism turned into Buddhism, turned into Taoism. Of course, because we're talking about samadhi, bro. Taoists talk about samadhi just like the Muslims talk about samadhi. That's why you're born with, when you're like, you said, like you're born Hindu. It's like, yeah, of course. Because in your religion, in Hinduism, you have samadhi. But instead of samadhi, they're calling it Allah.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally like as I'm listening to this thing, I'm like, you're saying the same thing as this other thing. You just don't know. So it's funny that you brought another parallel, which is like you're born Hindu or you're born Muslim. And you're like,
Right.
how can that be? It's like it's just the experience. It's the samadhi is like if you really go deep into meditation, what is samadhi? It's just no narratives. You're just existing.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same sensation as a flow state, except flow states have external stimuli, right? But if you're just meditating in like in nothing, or like in a what do you sensory deprivation tank, you hit the same thing, which is like there is just nothing.
Mm-hmm.
There's no time. Like you're in samadhi if you're like you look at the watch. Oh, dude, it's been an hour. What the hell?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
like
yeah.
you thought it was like 5 minutes.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
like that's why they say like it's timeless, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And any other things about that? Because I have another crazy one too.
No, no.
Yeah. So
It's
you
good
know,
stuff. Yeah, yeah, but
it's
there's
it's crazy. But like, how many people? Right? That's what he's saying. He's like Muslims really need to like. They've given us a bad rap.
well, that's I
Like
mean that's his opinion, right? That depends on who you follow, I guess, of the
true,
breakdown of the definitions.
true, 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 true. Totally, totally. But you know what's really interesting too? He was saying this in his podcast, which is like, you're a human, I'm a human. We're all
Mm-hmm.
just existing. Like, cause they're like, who is Firas Hobby? He's like, I'm a human being who's really into sports. And I'm like, oh, it's a great definition of who you are, right? And one thing that I noticed about TriStar, which is so fascinating, is Faraz never made fun of anyone.
Hmm.
Remember I told you, and like all those gyms, I went to H2O MMA. One of the coaches like, he's like, oh God, this is brutal to watch. Oh my God, you guys, what are you guys doing? I'm like, way to make us all feel bad.
Oh, really?
You know what I mean? Like, why are you saying that, bro? And
Yeah.
like he was kind of like dissing TriStar a bit. He was like, somebody
Well,
was like,
it's a
why don't you train?
competition, but
No, for sure, for sure.
no,
But
I
the one guy
understand
was
that.
like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, go
no,
ahead.
but
Sorry.
he
Yeah.
repped TriStar though, which was kind of weird. I was like, but
Oh,
you
okay.
repped him. His TriStar beat 10th Planet. They went to like a quintet
Okay.
grappling thing, and like TriStar Toronto, I'm sorry,
Mm.
10th Planet Toronto went to Montreal to compete against them, and they lost. But the one guy was there. He was representing um, TriStar. And then when I saw him teaching at H2O, I was like, oh, it's that famous dude that I follow, right?
Mm.
And like somebody's like, why don't you train at TriStar with him? He's like, oh, the vibes are weird there. And I was like, I was thinking about it, and I'm like, oh, it's because it's not broy. It is broy, but Frost handles himself in a way that's not broy
Mm.
because he's Muslim. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I see why your coaching style is just, I'm waiting. Okay, we're going to work. Let's go to work. Because it's your devotion to God.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he meant about like worship of Allah. It's like find things, like, oh, God gave me this path. No, it's just like it's the flow state. You're like you're feeling a flow. Why'd I
Mm-hmm.
go to
Mm-hmm.
Montreal to train? Because like I'm feeling a flow,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you can call it like Allah's guiding me there. Or I could be saying it in a Taoist way, which is like I'm just following my passions. You know what I mean? Same, same.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like he would call it Allah. Allah's guiding you. I'm like, yeah, sure, if you want to say that.
Mm-hmm.
But like really, I think I'm achieving flow states here, you know? So that
Yeah.
that's like why the highest devotion is to God, because God is that flow state,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Um, what was what was the last thing I said? I was like gonna switch it up. Um,
The
oh, I made a note of it. Sucks when you're like you go down like a rabbit hole of thought and you're like, wait a minute. Um, okay, so Muslims is on there. Yeah, Christianity. Taoism.
yeah, it went through the rules thing.
Yeah, I don't even remember. Damn. All right. Anyways,
Uh,
so maybe it'll just like enter back into my
probably, probably.
mind at one time. But yeah, so like it's just interesting to like see that these people are like living in this way, and you're kind of like it's weird because you're like we're all just living in these little realities.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like I drove all the way back to Toronto, and I'm like, but in Montreal, it's like there's this like ecosystem of like elite training, and like, and then you go to like I don't know, like Indonesia, and you're like, oh, these people don't care at all, and then you go to like Thailand, you're like, these people don't care at all. It's like we're all really just living these weird
Well, yeah, there's different. Like, yeah,
false realities.
yeah, Myanmar had a 7.1 earthquake. They were dealing with that when
Oh,
we were
what?
dealing. Yeah,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Oh, I had no idea about that. When was that? Like recently?
Just this week, I think when you were gone.
See,
Yeah.
yeah, see, okay, I know no conception of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like what is the world if not your like directing? I remember it. There you go. I was waiting for it to come back. I'm like, oh, it's
Mm-hmm.
gonna come. It came back. Okay, check this out. This is gonna trip you out. Okay, so he was talking about free will and determinism,
Mm-hmm.
and I went back because in that Muslim podcast they're like, oh, you went over Joe Rogan's head, right? And I was like, okay, well, what did you say? Because I remember the twin trains analogy, right? So, and then I re-listened to it. I'm like, oh, I figured out what you're trying to say, or what you are saying, but like in a different way. So you and I are hard determinists,
Mm-hmm.
right? But then we're like, wait a minute, there's a superposition, so that means that there's free will because they've proven through I really think quantum physics is the bridge between spirituality and science, and I'll explain. So, um, you can mathematically predict certain things, right? This if I throw this phone on the ground,
Mm-hmm.
it'll land there, right? And then if I undo everything, like put everything back in its place, and I throw it again, everything's back in its place. Would you expect it to fall there? Like, of
Y-
course, right?
Yeah,
Everything's
yeah,
like
yeah.
you
If you're
just
doing
every
the
program,
same, yeah, yeah, yeah,
that
same,
same thing,
same.
right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay, but where does free will come in, right? And we talked about superposition. So like superposition, like all possibilities are real until one is chosen. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
enter Prakriti and Prashua in
Mm-hmm.
Hinduism. Prakriti is nature. It's governed by the laws of the world, which is the gunas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sattva, Raja, Tamas. It's just they're all just interchanging, right? And you can mathematically calculate that, right? But there's one thing outside of Prashua or Purusha, which is Prakriti, which is soul. He call Frost calls it intuition or direct experience.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to do something, or like I'm gonna create, like where does creativity come from? We don't know, right? You could say like, okay, maybe you're making these micro calculations and you're pulling it from the past, but there is something there that is like it's beyond it, which is the experience of God, consciousness,
Yeah,
awareness,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't mathematically prove that awareness is there, but we all feel it. That's
Mm-hmm.
the hard problem of consciousness. If consciousness is real, where is it? Right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
but it's just like I'm aware. Oh, I'm thinking this thought. No, that's a thought, bro. Go before the thought. Who is the thinker of the thought?
Mm-hmm.
That's awareness. That's God. That's the soul. That's Prakriti. No, Purusha. Prakriti's nature, Purshua is soul.
Okay.
So like if you think of it in those terms, it's like of course, and what he calls it is like twin trains analogy. The reason why you can use intuition to call something is not is because it's just aligning with what is already happening. You're
Mm-hmm.
just able to calculate, like you're like, oh, I knew that was gonna happen. It's like, yeah, you did know because you were able to calculate Prakriti really quickly,
Mm-hmm.
but there's still something like outside, and that gives us our free will, which is like you just don't know where something's coming from. Does that make
Mm-hmm.
sense?
Sure.
Because there's like a awareness there, and that awareness is separate from reality. Do you know what I'm saying? Because where is awareness? Where is that awareness? Where's that reside?
But still in you, right?
But if it's in you, how is it in me too?
Well, it's in the universe, and then.
Right? So it's like there's just something that's in everything that's
Mm-hmm.
just outside of physical reality. And that's what consciousness is. And that's where our free will comes from. Because it's like that's the superposition. That consciousness is the superposition. It's all infinite things until we make it a thing. Do you know what
Okay.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like um how do I oh, I don't know. How do I draw a friggin' an elephant on a piece of paper? Until like my awareness is there and then it's governing how it's going to draw that thing on paper. But you first
Mm-hmm.
need the awareness,
Mm-hmm.
right? But we don't know what that awareness is doing. So that's the superposition. It's all potentials until it just decides to make that thing. It goes from like immaterial to material.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? And because we can't govern the awareness, that's where the freedom comes in because it's like you are free from this. You can observe the thought. So you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that. Or maybe that's the wrong move because you're able to analyze. If we were just in like a, if we were in like a purely, if we were in a purely deterministic world, it's like it would all just be thoughts, thoughts pinging other thoughts, pinging other thoughts, pinging other thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Sure.
But because there's something there that can put the brakes on that, that's where our free will can come in. But we're most people are confusing a thought with consciousness.
Mm, a thought with consciousness.
How many
Okay.
people know that they can think a thought?
Mm-hmm.
Probably not many. Do you know you're thinking? If you just ask them, like, what the hell are you talking about?
You see what you're saying? Just following thoughts versus like breaking, trying to understand your thoughts, kind of thing.
But where exactly? But where does that come from?
Mm-hmm.
You can't have a thought analyzing a thought. You can
Mm-hmm.
have awareness analyzing a thought because you can watch the thought. But the ability to watch the thought is what gives you the free will to be like, maybe I should change this. Because there's
Mm-hmm.
something there. You know what I mean? There's like, you can't have a thought thinking its own thought. You need something else observing the thought. Or do you disagree?
No, I not necessarily disagree. I just don't. I'll have to look more into it, kind of thing, to
It's not
understand.
clear.
No, I
Okay, okay.
understand it, but it's all still all within the world, right? It's not something outside the world, right? Is that what we're?
No. Awareness is outside of the material world. That's Purusha. That's the soul. And then there's Prakriti, which is like in the world,
Mm-hmm.
like the world, the physical world, like knock knock world, you know? And like our thoughts are in this world because they're like manifest, they're like real. But there's something that's not real, which is our awareness. It's intuitively real because we're like, I think, therefore I am, right? Like it's
Mm-hmm.
intuitively real, but you can't like actually pinpoint it. You could pinpoint a thought. You know what I mean? Like they're all, they call them like the Maya, like the veil. Like there's all these things that are like standing in the way of no mind
Mm-hmm.
awareness.
Sure. Yeah, yeah, I understand. Yeah, yeah.
Like right, there's like awareness and then everything else comes from it, right? So like that awareness is what gives us free will because we can analyze things that are, we can witness. I won't even say analyze. You can
Mm-hmm.
just witness a thought. So if you can witness a thought, you can choose this thought over that thought because you're able to see the thoughts,
Yeah, yeah. No, I understand. Yeah.
right? You're like, I'm thinking two things, like kill them or don't kill them. All right, let's observe. Oh, I'm thinking. Oh, look at the balloons. Um, Kill them or don't kill them, right? And you're like, okay, there are two thoughts there, right? And then you're like, then you start weighing things. Those are more thoughts layered on thoughts. But what I'm saying is like the ejector seat of thoughts, the no mind. There's a there's an intuitive impulse that you know something without thinking that thing. Like this is the correct decision. Like two thoughts, this is the correct decision. Why? It's just innate. It's like an intuition. It's something you know that cannot be explained. It's just intuitive to you. Do you know what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying. But which thought that they pick is based on the experience, right?
Totally. But right. That's thoughts analyzing thoughts. I
Mm-hmm.
agree with you. You're like, okay, I'm playing mental calculus here. But there's also an
I understand what you're saying. So
intuition.
it could be like, yeah, if you're saying multiple thoughts, and as they say, like there's multiple. What was the thing that whatever the quantum physics thing, right? The
Superposition.
superposition, multiple
Yeah.
things, but
Infinite
when
potential.
yeah, infinite potential, but then when the observer is there, then it becomes that one.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
The thought becomes the observer. Like what you're talking about is like, all right, I have two thoughts, and then I'm like weighing them out.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something else that's, well, these balloons love me, eh? There's something else not that's not a thought.
Mm-hmm.
It's an intuitive response. It's like a gut feeling, or
Sure.
it's not even
Yeah, yeah,
really.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's not even a gut feeling. It's like a pull. I don't know why. Like there's these chess players, the Go. There's these. I heard this on a podcast about UFOs actually, and they were talking about remote viewing, and they call in Go, you know the game Go, the most brilliant move, right? Is an illogical move that doesn't. So they're like, oh my god, you're a brilliant Go player. It's because those people are able to do a move right now that makes no sense, but then later on, it wins them the game because they intuitively knew, oh, I got to move here.
Mm-hmm.
But But it's like, and that's the twin trains. It's like, oh, you're psychic. No, I'm not psychic. I just had an intuition. You know what I mean? Like this was the poll. This is the correct answer. You know? And then they're like, oh, when they analyze the game back, they're like, oh, you made this move here, which led to this. You know? But it's like you didn't, you couldn't have possibly calculated that. Is what they're saying. Like that's why it's a genius move in Go. It's like you cannot possibly calculate these moves, but like certain people are able to do things, and then you're just like, oh, that's weird that it worked out.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But that's an intuitive thought. It's like it's beyond mind.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah. Yeah, it reminds me of the like that Ramanujan story. The guy was like figuring out the science, like the physics, without the
Okay.
proofs.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Yes, exactly,
Right.
exactly. It's an intuition. It's an
Mm.
intuitive. It's an intuitive feeling,
Yeah.
right? But it's like, and then one would say like God's guiding him. Yeah, it
Hmm.
is God
I mean,
because
that's what
it's
he
God.
believed. Yeah.
But what is God? God is awareness. So of
Hmm.
course your intuition's guiding you. And that's the thing that most people have lost, which is
Hmm.
like intuitive guidance,
Right.
speaking to God, you know? But like what you said, like why do you pray every day? Because it's like you can build that intuition back if you just reflect. Prayer is just meditation. Ultimately, prayer is just meditation. It's literally the exact same thing. You're
Again,
just
it
repeating a
but
mantra
I
over and over.
understand. Yeah. I think it depends on how you define
No,
God
but
in
I'm
that
saying
way.
mechanically. No, I'm just saying mechanically. Like mechanically prayer is meditation because you're just repeating a mantra in order to get out of your mind because you're going to hit a place um but
But
there are
that's
faster ways to get
understanding.
there.
I think that's no, no. That's fine. I agree with that. But it comes with the understanding of that definition of God. Because if your definition of God is if you don't pray, you go to hell, then
Oh
you're
yeah,
just
for sure. Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
That's what I mean. It does not.
No, but yeah, go ahead.
It doesn't work in that way. Then.
Yes, and that's what a lot of biblical scholars believe too though. It's like they've put these in like stories, like why don't you eat shellfish, because shellfish had a lot of parasites back in the day, so they said just don't eat it,
Hmm.
but they couldn't explain
Or they
parasites.
just
They're
didn't
just
know how
like
to cook it. Right. They didn't know how to cook
yeah,
it. So there's.
there you go. Right, exactly. So
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah. Yeah.
more like if we tell these dummies, like we're gonna present in a story
Sure.
very
Yeah. Yeah. Of
basic
course.
principles
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
these dummies can't figure it out themselves.
Yeah.
Like maybe if you pray to God every single day, you'll find intuition, and that's what a lot of people say. They're like, "Oh, God spoke to me,"
Hmm.
you know. And then actually, we were watching this thing. It was so trippy because Tara was like, "Wait, do these people realize that it's them talking to themselves?" Because like, "Oh, God spoke to me. Who spoke to you, bro?
Hmm.
Yourself?" And then I was like, "Yes," and she's like, "Oh my God, that's crazy." I'm like, "No, but people just don't go that far in the well. They just don't realize." Like it's like for us, you're saying the same thing as Taoism, bro. You just didn't go deep into that corner. But
Sure.
you're the exact same thing, bro. You
Hmm.
know? And it's like unless you go deep into the ocean, how are you gonna know what things are? Like how you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. If
like
you're
so
limited
like
to just the definitions that you're surrounded by,
that's
the
what I'm
world
saying,
of
bro. That's
definitions.
exactly
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying, right? And
Yeah.
then that's why when Terrace like because we were watching like a reality TV show, like, oh God spoke to me this one time, and then you're just like, you mean you spoke to yourself? Like, yes, but they think it's God because they don't realize like God's that same voice. That voice is God, bro. Like, I mean, consciousness is that
Consciousness
voice.
is you. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
you, bro. But
Yeah.
it's like, oh, it's an intuitive feeling. It's like, yeah, bro. Yes, we all have intuition. Yes, it's not a man in the sky, bro. It's just
Hmm.
you having this experience, being like, oh, that's the correct answer. You know what I mean?
Right. But we're the minority, right? Majority of the
We.
world
That's what I'm
believes
saying, bro.
in a
Okay, and
physical God.
thank you. And let me just go full circle with this. And I swam too deep in the ocean. So remember when I said like I was trying to teach them and I'm like, oh God, you guys don't even know balance? Bro, what?
Right.
I went too far. I like there's this jujitsu guy that I really like, Chris Bones Burns, and what he did was he kept flying. He lived in Australia, bro, and he kept flying to LA to meet Hickson Gracie and learn from him. Hickson
Hmm.
Gracie, the best jujitsu practitioner of our time. Everyone says Gordon Ryan, but like no, Hickson's the man, bro. He made jujitsu what it is, right? And he kept flying, and then like he said that he'd fly back every month. I'm like, dude, where does this guy get his money? But anyways, so he'd call up Hickson and be like, hey, can we train today? And Hickson's like, no, not today. And then he'd like come back next month. Hey, can we train today? He's like, maybe next month. And then like, okay, I'll come back. And he's like, okay, yeah, I'm free at 5. So you just kept pestering him, bro. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then what he said was, it's like the ocean. When you look at the ocean, you're like, oh, this is real. Oh, this is
Mm-hmm.
real. And he's like, I just want to be around the ocean. I want to be around real things. He's like, I've trained a lot of jujitsu where it's like you're in a kiddie pool and there's like a turd floating in the pool and nobody's saying anything. It's like, do you guys know this is a kiddie pool with like a turd? And then you're like, I want to go to the ocean, bro. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's, and I was lit synchronicity, man. I was driving to Montreal and then I heard this podcast and I was like, it's perfectly timed because I'm like, oh, I'm going to the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to TriStar to see like, what's up, bro? Like, you are the greatest of all time. All right, let's go see it. And
Right.
then you go there and you're like, but how many people swam in the ocean, bro?
Yeah.
And then you
Right.
come back and you're like, damn, I left the cave and now everyone thinks I'm crazy.
Well,
No, for real.
that's the yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And I was like freaked out. I was having this like existential crisis like last 2 days. And I was like, I can't wait for this podcast with Vish. Like I was trying to tell Tara, but like she doesn't get it. You know, I was like, maybe it's just martial arts, bro. It's just martial arts. She's like, these people are just coming for their exercise. I'm like, for me, it's beyond exercise, bro. I need to see the truth. You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I knew you'd get it. So I was like, oh, I'm excited for this podcast because like, I f-
Well,
I
it's
feel
it's this, right? If you have enough of uh it's experience. We've discussed these things multiple times, right?
yeah,
Philosophies and things like that. So it's more like you've got a certain basis to, like a foundation,
kno-
a
knowledge plus
knowledge.
experience.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And now I'm just like, oh, dude, no, this is wrong. Like when he said like having come back, like when I was going there and I heard that analogy where he's like, I want to stare at the ocean, and then most people are okay with the kiddie pool with like a turd floating in it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like going there, I was like, I kind of get what you mean. Coming back from there, I'm like, oh, I 100% get what you mean. You could feel the jujitsu's not good at certain places. You're like, what? Why? Why would you devote your life?
But
Remember I
see,
told you like,
but the thing is, like, I think it's a bit of an attack, I would say. Like, yeah, a kiddie pool with the turd. Like, you don't have to necessarily add that. People just want to stay in the kiddie pool. That's all. They just want to have
totally,
simplicity,
totally,
right?
totally, totally.
It, you
Right.
don't have
I
to make
agree.
it like a negative thing, right? It's just, that's just majority of the world, right?
That's why Tara's like, it's just their exercise. And I'm like, no, they said this would work. They literally proved that this would work. I want to see how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like they proved that on TV. That's why the UFC was started, bro. One martial arts destroyed them all. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
let's learn the martial art that destroyed them all. You know? And it's just it's like those two dudes who I was rolling with, they're like purple belts. And we trained for 15 years, and then I'm like, they can't sub me, and then I started controlling them, and then they're like, dude, he freaking said he was a blue belt, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
but I am a blue
Yeah.
belt. But it's like that's why I love no gi because it's like you don't know
It's
what
like
everyone's
this.
rank is.
When you were saying that, it reminded me of another analogy where it's like, I mean, yeah, it's the same title of a degree. You get it. You'll let's say a university, right? There's let's say a McMaster, like something that's around here. It's the same degree, but then U of T has the same degree, but they're not the same school,
Yes, yes, that's 100%. That's exactly true. Yes,
right?
that's exactly it. Yeah, 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 yeah. The quality is different.
Mm-hmm.
The environment's different. The way
Yeah,
they like everything's different.
yeah,
No, that's very, very true. But it's also triggering for a lot of people when you're on the path of like trying to find truth. Cause like I know some people are very upset.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm just like,
yeah.
because I'm just like, but it's not real. But it's not
Sure.
real. Why are we doing
Yeah,
it? It's
yeah.
not real, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like the thing is this, when you're not sure about something, you'll get defensive about that thing.
Sure. Yeah,
I've
yeah.
been in I've been in jujitsu situations where it's like you're you know you're fake.
Mm-hmm.
So you
Well,
need
I
to
think that's why.
overprotect,
Right. Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the nicest people in jujitsu, Frost didn't make fun of anyone, bro. Because he's legit.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I don't need to make fun of you. Learn from me, don't learn from me. Fight me, okay, we'll fight.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
you don't need to worry yourself about that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like, oh, I have this crazy story for you. I don't know how I'm gonna. Well, it's kind of public.
Yeah, you tell me after. I don't know
All
if
right,
we,
no, 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 no. It's a
unless you
very
can.
funny. You know, it's a great lesson. It's a great lesson.
Sure.
Okay, so in the martial arts community, this
Mm-hmm.
person will never hear this, but it's just an interesting story. So in the martial arts community, right, we do certain things. We're like, my martial arts is better than your martial arts. We'll start attacking each other, right? And the only time I've never seen that is jujitsu. Because it's like, if
Mm-hmm.
it's true, let's roll, bro. Because the maths never lie. If you really think this is gonna work, show it to me. And if it does work, I'm gonna ask you to show me how it's done. I'm gonna learn from you, bro. That's why I love jujitsu. It's like, if you show me a better technique, I will use that technique till the day I die because
Mm-hmm.
it's better than my technique.
Right.
Whereas if you can't pressure test something and it's just postulating, it's like choreography,
Mm-hmm.
then you're just battling nothing. You know what I mean? You're like my choreography is better than your choreography. All right, cut his hand off, bro. Like, prove it to me it's real. You know what
Right.
I mean? Like, well, we can't do that. Okay, but jujitsu, you can do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's funny because like there's a bit of like this online argument between two people I know, and well, not I know one, and then not the other one, and then like I kind of like showed like, hey, this person talked shit about you, bro, and then they were like, oh yeah, and then he made a video, and I'm
Okay.
like, and they're like, should I post it? And I was like, yeah, you should post it, bro, because I think it's funny, you know. And everyone's like, no, don't do that, don't do that. And then like fuck, I'm gonna post it anyways. Posted it, and now there's more controversy. And
Mm-hmm.
they're like, yeah, I'd like to see you like use that technique on me. I'm like, you're gonna really hit me with something to prove your thing works. This is why I like jujitsu because we can roll and we can walk away unharmed.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if you're dealing with things that are like literally killing people in a specific art, like let's call it like ninjutsu, right? If you're like, if I have this touch of death, I could really kill you. Prove it to me, bro. Oh, you're really gonna kill him, bro? No, you're
Mm-hmm.
not. So it's funny how jujitsu is for me. Jujitsu is the ultimate martial art because it's like it's provable. Like in anything else I've practiced, even if I'm really good at like let's say ninjutsu, throwing deadly ninja stars, it's like you can never prove that that's real unless you
Mm-hmm.
literally throw a ninja star at somebody. But who's gonna let that happen?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But it's funny because like, why'd you guys get so riled up? I thought it was funny. I was like, keep doing it, guys. It's funny to me. But like, but
Yeah.
why do
Yeah.
you get so riled up? Because you both don't know if it's real.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't test it. So you're like, yeah, my ninja art throwing is better than your ninja art throwing.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like it's only people who are fake get really mad. Not
Yeah.
fake, but like you can't test it. Like you don't know for certain.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I'm 100% confident. Let's do it, bro. Let's see what's up. But
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a ninja star thrower is not gonna be like, let's see what's up, bro. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we live in a world of like posturing, is what I'm saying.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
like aggroness is just fear
Mm-hmm.
of an inability to do something. You know, yeah. Um, I have another story for you. Are you good on time, or do you have to do something?
It depends on how much time. It's
Okay,
gonna be
what time are we at?
sort of just over an hour and 4 minutes.
All right, cool, cool. This one's not too bad. Kind of short, but this was really fascinating. So, this is a story of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to Montreal, right? I am in a car that I've rented, right? I'm gunning it at 145,
Okay.
listening to the podcast, just like, well, whatever. We're at an open road, home
Mm-hmm.
stretch.
Mm-hmm.
We're going as fast as I can. I'm like looking at the podcast, and I look up and I see a police car. I'm like, oh crap! Boom! Hit the brake. Like try and slow down. I'm like, I hope he didn't see me. As I pass the car, I look behind me. I'm like, oh crap! Like he did catch me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, pull over the side, and he's like, "Why are you in a hurry?" I'm like, "Yeah." No. So like we come over. I'm like, "Here you go." I'm like, "Yeah, you know." We both know. Sorry. And then he's like, why are you in a hurry? I'm like, I'm trying to train jujitsu, like trying to rush there. My bad. My bad. My
Mm-hmm.
bad. We both know. And then like he's like he's like license and registration. Where's the bill? I'm like, is it rental? I don't even know where it is. He's like, open the thing. Oh, okay, it's probably that thing. He's kind of young, right? He's like, yeah, it's probably that thing. I'm like, oh, here you go, man. All right, is this gonna be expensive? And he goes, well, I haven't decided yet. And I'm like, oh, okay. So he goes over, and I'm like, all right, maybe he'll let me off. Maybe he'll let me off. Then I see him printing something. I'm like, damn it, I did
Mm-hmm.
get a ticket. Walks over to the car and he's like, I did you a solid. I'm like, hey, what's up? He's like, I clocked you at 35 over. 150, they will impound your car. I was going
Mm-hmm.
145. And he's like, I clocked you at 145, but I gave you the lowest ticket. Don't worry about it. Just slow down, bro. And I was like, you're my man, bro. So he's like, this would have been like $200 because you didn't go over the high thing. So I'm just give you $50, you know. I was like, you pay this online? He's like, yeah, just flip it on the back. You just pay it online, whatever. Just make sure you pay within 15 days or else they're gonna impound your car. I'm like, no, for sure, bro. I got this. I got this.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me why. Giving this guy the biggest waves. We're both driving off. He passed me. I'm like waving. He goes to the next spot, and then I'm like waving again. I'm like, thanks, bro. Thank you. You know. But that was a moment of humanity. Like, imagine if I had been like, whoa, bro, I'm in a hurry, blah, blah, blah. But it was because I was
Sure.
like,
Yeah.
bro, we both know. We both know. Why are we gonna hide it?
Mm-hmm.
We both know.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know? Yeah. I think humans are really cool. Like when people are like, oh, cops are really bad, like people are bad, I'm like, I think that's the tiniest bit. Like most people are just cool, bro. Like
Yeah.
that guy was cool. He's like, I gotta give you a ticket because technically you were doing something, but like I'll give you the lowest one. I'm like, all right, thanks, bro.
Yeah.
You know?
No,
Like
it
humans are
really
cool,
does
bro.
matter, like even how you speak to them. Yeah. Yeah. Right. If you're not even acknowledging that you've done something wrong, like when you know you've done something wrong, right?
He's gonna get pissed. You
Yeah. Of
know?
course.
My worry was that if you clock somebody, it registers to their gun or something. So like I
No,
was like, there's
they
no way
have
we can
discretion.
reply.
They have discretion.
Okay.
Where it's like the thing is that's the issue where the machine, like the one that is on like that 40 zone or whatever, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's there's no discretion in that
Oh yeah,
because it's
you're
just
just
the
gonna get it
machine.
no matter what.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's discretion between that and a person. Like if
Oh,
a
okay,
person is
okay.
doing it, there you can do discretion. Yeah.
But I like that. Like, man,
Mm-hmm.
we should always keep discretion, bro. Because like that was kind of cool. Like,
Yeah,
I was really worried because I was like, damn, I'm going hella fast. I thought it was gonna be like $2,000 fine,
yeah.
and just like $50. I'm like, I'm going to the hotel after this and paying it right away, bro. You
Mm-hmm.
know? Yeah, yeah. Humans are cool. Um, don't want to end it off with a UFO thing. Okay. Oh, were you gonna say something?
No, no, no.
Okay. Yo, check this out. So I was listening to this podcast yesterday. Yeah, this is an uplifting story. So that was kind of uplifting. So this is the most uplifting. So he was talking about who cares about UFOs, bro? Like, who cares if they're a fly in the sky? Whatever, bro. I care about the technology derivatives, even beyond zero point energy. Like we're talking about like zero point energy will change the game. So this guy was saying that you can go listen to this on the American Alchemy, like it's public knowledge. So he was saying that they use scalar waves to bring down these crafts, right? So basically, it's just like an EMP. So when a nuclear bomb goes off, take away the bomb, and it's just like a EMP wave, right? So they're using these to shoot down the crafts. And one thing that he said was, there's this company that's under wraps right now, but it's going to be released like slowly but surely because of this whole disclosure thing. They've created a machine where they use scalar waves to scan your whole body and eliminate certain things like cancers and parasites, all through residency. Not even, and he like firsthand went through this thing. He's like, he went to this machine and like, because he's a whistleblower, they wanted to give him like access to it. So it was like a 12-hour procedure to first scan the body and then 4 hours of like treatment, another 4 hours. So when they scanned his whole body, they were able to tell all of his like health issues,
Mm-hmm.
and they found out he had parasites. He's like, oh, my stomach hurts. Like, oh, it's parasites. Then they used the scalar waves to kill off all the parasites. And he's like, this is the future. And like, the reason why, so you're just using vibration to kill off scan for certain things, kill off certain things. He's like, no, this literally cured me. Like, there's a use case for this. They just haven't released it yet because like We can't really. Well, he explained for two reasons. The reason why they released it yet is because it will destroy big pharma. Because then you're like, well, I don't need drugs anymore, right? It's non-invasive. Again, it just takes a while. And then the other reason is because you can weaponize it too. If you can scan the body to kill off certain things, you can also scan the body to create certain things. And he's like, it's like a knife, like you can cut your food or you can stab someone, or it's like a car. You can drive the car or you can kill someone with the car,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he's like, with these technologies, the gray area is that the reason why they're having a hard time, like just like passing. He said like the FDA or something was like an issue with it, but also how do we keep people from using it in the wrong way? You know, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that if we globally move away from like, if we become like more spiritually aware, more conscious beings, like we could have the best world ever where we're all just trying to freaking make the best of every situation. But it's because we're so like young with these like war antics. It's been in our nature for so long that like we need to get over that in order to have a brighter future. Yeah, sounds crazy though, right? With the
Mm-hmm.
vibrational thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what do you think? Like, obviously, yeah, we'll wait till we see it, but like, yeah, you like war is the enemy, you know. Even though like wars we're using to fight the enemy, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but I
It's
mean,
like
like, it's this war is. I mean, yeah, it's
necessary,
bad,
right?
but sometimes it can be sometimes necessary. Nobody wants to necessarily go to war until
Yeah,
right. That's even World War II. It's not like they wanted to go to war. It was the other team
yeah,
that was doing it that caused us to go to war.
yeah, for sure, for sure. And like, there was this Tara
I
sent me
was
this.
watching. Yeah, I was watching this documentary too, because the Turning Point one. I think that was there was a 9/11 one, and then they did another one about like with Russia, which I haven't finished yet, but
Well, that's cool. Netflix.
it's on Netflix. Yeah, and it starts from World War II and like that war, like what it's all about the nuclear weapons and like
Oh, that's cool.
how that got involved into it. So it starts from World War II and like they didn't want to drop bombs on Japan. Uh,
Oh yeah,
uh
yeah, the Oppenheimer.
yeah,
Yeah,
they
they did
didn't they
that. They
didn't
showed that there.
yeah they didn't want to drop the bombs. It was just the Japanese were, even though they knew they were losing, they were not willing to stop the war.
Right, 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 right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And there was like I think even yeah they had like it was not just as like two or three spots that they had in mind of dropping the bombs. There was like five spots or
Well, that's
something,
interesting.
five
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
locations, and it was just it was not something that wasn't uh, wanted to be used, but then had to be used in order to stop more
And
death.
that's what keeps us all from like mutually assured destruction. As
Yeah, I
long as we
mean
all have these
that's
nukes,
yeah.
yeah.
So like once you did that, then it was now you're dealing with now the whole world knows that you have this weapon, right? And everyone's going to try
Yeah,
to
yeah,
create
totally.
this weapon. That was the other threat from that. If you
Yes,
use this
yes.
weapon, yeah.
It's funny because Tara sent me this video of this like young girl. She's like 12 or 13 or something. She's like, "War is dumb. People need to evolve their conscience." I'm like, "All right, settle down. Like you can say this in your suburban home owned by your parents, but like, do you understand global economics? Do you understand like finite resources? Like these are the things we're facing where it's like, yeah, it is easy to say like if the world could just be a better place, but like we're dealing with that, like mutually assured destruction,
Hmm.
and also like Japan's economy is lower than this other economy. So we're gonna go to war. We're gonna like fight a economic battle. You know what I mean? There's so many things of that like it's almost like we're so big now that we just can't get along. I hope we can get along. Like that'd be amazing. But like I just don't know if we can get along unless we have a unified reason to get along. Not
Hmm.
like a alien invasion kind of
Sure.
thing,
Yeah,
but I
yeah,
mean
yeah,
like
yeah.
like we need something where like
I mean, like that was the idea of
all
the,
band
not the
together.
idea. That was not the idea, but like that was there was a moment of that with COVID, but then that stopped.
Yes, COVID was a thing. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
But there
Yeah,
was a
everyone was
moment,
doing.
but didn't last that long.
Yeah, true. True, true, true. Yeah. I think it's just like the haves and the have-nots, man. Like the super rich just don't want to give up
Mm.
that position.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what's actually really crazy too? I'm like finishing up the UFO documentary, and one thing that they said, like, you know the Lady of Fatima? You heard of that?
It sounds familiar, but if you can
So
remind me.
it's like the Mother Mary appeared to
Oh,
everyone in Fatima, and
yeah.
then like in Christian religion, the people are like, oh my God, like she's speaking to us, right?
Hmm.
And now that they're looking back, it's like most likely that was a UFO encounter because people described it not as a woman in the sky. It was like a light that was like gigantic, and people were like venerating the light kind of thing. Um, do you know when that took place?
When?
19, 1917. That's like 100 years ago, bro.
Hmm. Yeah.
Right? And then like in 1969 there was like a gigantic UFO encounter and all these people saw it, like hundreds of thousands of people saw it, like giant ship in the sky. 1969. And it's like the only reason why these people were dubbed crazy is because we didn't have the internet. Like watching this documentary and seeing the dates, I'm like, this all kind of happened like like have aliens been here the whole time and we just been like keeping it a secret to keep society like chill? Like I don't think that they care about us. I think they're just like here. Or maybe they're guiding us. Maybe they're like, hey, you guys could evolve in this way. Maybe, I don't know. But like it almost seems like just weird secrecy that's been going on. You know, it's just
Well,
like
I mean,
just because we didn't
like,
have the internet.
I can say this. I mean, do the are the aliens intentionally trying to hide? Um,
I don't think they're intentionally because there are like thousands of people see it.
right. Then why are they letting people keep him a secret?
The aliens?
Hmm.
No, this is what I'm saying. I think that it's people that are trying to keep it a secret. I think governments are trying to keep it a secret to keep order. Because if we knew that there was an alien race out there that's been visiting us, we'd be like, wait, what? Why does their country matter? You know, why are you guys fighting? There's a whole thing out there. There's a
So the
whole galactic
aliens
empire.
don't. Are the aliens
I don't think.
want to reveal themselves, or are the
No,
aliens?
I think I heard this recently, and I'm like, that actually makes the most sense. We're all talking about UFOs and UAPs, right? Like, oh my God, there's like gray aliens and like they're showing up orbs in the sky. And the guy said, we're just looking at the worker bee, but there's probably an entire thing out there beyond what we're seeing. Like, like the worker bee doesn't care because it's doing its thing, right? And we're just like, oh, dude, it's a UFO. It's like, oh my God, that's God. It's like, dude, that is the trash can of. Remember what I was saying before? It's like, what if these are all trash receptacles and we're all just like me getting a tattoo of a UFO, and it's like, you just got a tattoo of a trash receptacle, bro.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like there's a bigger narrative here than what we're seeing. Is what I makes the most sense to me because I'm listening to these stories. I'm like, they date back so long, and there's so many thousands of people that have seen it. So it's like, okay, so it was a cover up. Like somebody's keeping this secret probably because they want to keep world order. You know, because like
Hmm.
they're not trying to hide themselves. Like the airplane pilots, literally, like what's his name, Ryan Graves. He would fly out in the morning, see the orbs, nobody would talk about it. He'd fly back, the orb's still there. I'm like, dude, that was 8 hours, bro. They're not trying to hide at all. They're just there.
Hmm.
We've just entered into their airspace, you know? And it's like, why is this a cover up still? You know?
Hmm. Yeah.
It's unless it's a crazy alien invasion that's been like a 100 years in the making because we saw the Lady of Fatima, maybe. But like, if you date back to like ancient civilizations and like indigenous tribes, they talk about star people all the time. The guy from Bermuda who like I work with, and he was like, I was talking about UFOs, and he was just like, yeah, we have those, they call them star people in our culture. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, it's open knowledge in our culture. You're just like, why is it not in the Western culture,
Hmm.
bro? Yeah, I feel like yeah, I feel like we're at this again. We're at this convergence, quantum physics, spirituality, UFOs. It's all gonna come together. Like all the information just like fire hose coming out right now, and you're just like, okay, there's something bigger than what we're seeing. Yeah.
Hmm.
You agree? No?
We'll see. That's what it is.
I love that. I love that. You're still like, prove it to me, bro. That's one thing that the guy said. He's talking about this, like, he's talking about disclosure, and then the interviewee was like, yeah, I think we're in the midst of disclosure. We're getting all the information right now, and he's like, but there are some people who like need it to be in their face to be disclosed. I'm like, I was automatically thought of you. I'm like, there's something there, but what is the full story? Like, we know that there are UAPs. You see them all the time, but it's like, are they ours? Are they in other countries? Like, what's the story there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards NHI, but like you said, you'll wait to see what these things actually are. Anyways, any final thoughts,
It's a big world out there.
dude? And nobody cares. It's a big world, and nobody cares about what you care about, bro.
Hmm.
Like, why did I drive 5 hours? Why am I planning to do that again? You know what I mean? It's like nobody cares but you, bro, because you want to stare at the ocean. But everyone should find their own ocean and stare at that, like you in F1.
Hmm.
I don't even care about that, bro, but you love it. All right.
Yeah.
Till next time. Take it easy, Vish.
Peace.
Bye. All right. Hope you enjoyed that episode. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all those fun things, and check out our sponsors: Zenro Clothing Co., Portian Bakery, and Podbean. Take it easy, Vish.
Peace.